right, hello wine drinking people. Time for more of what I've had to drink yesterday, and this tasting wasn't on the calendar, so those of you that said, man, I love Burgundy, why didn't I get to see the email promoting this one? Well, this was just one that our group that went to Burgundy decided to put on to revisit one of our producers. We visited their wines, and Anne Parent, one of the great finds of my trip to Burgundy last year. And the Parent family's been in the wine business since the 17th century. They can trace their roots all the way back to Etienne Parent, who in 1787 became Thomas Jefferson's advisor for Burgundy. So a very important family here. Anne and Catherine are the 6th generation. Their brother Francois was, supposed to take over the property like most good, young men are in France, and the girls get screwed. Anne got some money and some vineyards, but he got married and he decided that he was moving on up, and his wife, Anne Gross, was going to need his services at her domain, and he decided to leave the Parent domain to the girls. And let me tell you, the two sisters took the ball and ran with it. 2/3 of their wines are based in Pommard, but they got holdings in 40 different appellations. They've been certified organic since 2013, and there are not a lot of women winemakers in Burgundy, but the ones they do have, let me tell you, amazing wines. You definitely notice the feminine touch in these wines, but they still have that masculine power that you get in Pommard. And let me tell you, in a good year, these guys make 65,000 bottles, so not a lot of wine. Unfortunately, over the last 6 years, they've lost the equivalent of 2 harvests in this part of Italy, and just a devastating blow, the hail that has hit Pommard and Volnay, and this is where the heart of their holdings are. So unfortunately, these guys hit very hard the last couple of vintages. I love the way Anne describes wine. She talks about wines like cars. She says you can't turn a VW into a Porsche, which we like those kind of comparisons. She said like 2012 and 2013, very different vintages. The 13s, amazingly nice tension and acidity. The 12s are fatter, more voluptuous, and are going to need more time in the cellar. The 13s showed that on this evening. The ones that we had definitely showed a little more precociousness, a little more forward fruit. We started out with a 2010 Pommard because I love 2010, and I couldn't believe Anne still had 2010s available. So when I got back home, I was just getting ready to contact Anne and say, we had a great time, and all of a sudden one of my reps comes with a pre-sale offer on her wines, which did not have the 2010 vintage on it, and I said, well, I know she has them available. I was just there. They're on her price list. Please ask her if she will part with them for us. And we have the last few cases of these 2010s that are available from Anne. The 2010 Pommard, typical Pommard, lovely perfume, violets, plums, cherry fruit, a big, somewhat rustic wine. Still has some big tannins here. These 2010s need time, but lots of fruit, wonderful balance, an excellent quintessential example of Pommard at the village level from 2010. The Beaune Premier Cru up next. This had more of a gravelly kind of minerality note, maybe a little bit more complex. I don't know if it was any bigger than the Pommard was. A lovely raspberry and cherry coulis-like fruit, some exotic spice, and you notice that gravelly minerality, that pop you get from those wines of Beaune. Excellent juice. All right, on to the Pommards, and we had 3 different Premier Crus here. The 2013s we showed first before the 10s. Like I said, they are more precocious. The Chanlin's Premier Cru we showed, and I'll tell you, both of these wines had this spice. And, Anne called it peppery, but I get more of a red-hot kind of cinnamon note. That beautiful forward fruit in these 2013s, very seductive, but wonderful structure, too. This Chanlin's is going to last for 10, 20 years easily. The 2010 Chanlin's had that wonderful spice, that raspberry fruit, that plum, and that little bit more of a truffly, earthy note. Really nice complexity here, some chalky tannins at the end, too. The Argelaire is a little bit bigger, a little bit of a minty kind of note to this 2013, a little bit of a vegetal kind of mustard seed quality, too. That spiciness, but a really sexy wine, lovely silky tannins here. The 2010, still a bit tightly wound, but had that exotic spice, mustard note, and, really big and still elegant at the same time, but these 10s need time. And the Charbonniers, our last Premier Cru, showed also pretty consistent with the 13 and 10 vintages. The 13 Charbonniers, a lot of lovely, gorgeous fruit here. Brown spices, really exotic, and lovely long layered finish. Lots of minerality. The Charbonniers definitely, for me, the biggest of the 3. And, a lot of people voted for 5, 8, and 10, which we didn't mention number 10, but number 10 is the Courton Renards. The Grand Cru, and just a few dollars more than the Premier Cru Pommars. This Grand Cru, really big and chewy wine. Courton usually needs a little bit of time, and even though it's big, it has this lovely velvety texture. One of the things about all of these Parent wines is the texture. One of the things we love about Pinot, that velvetiness it has on your tongue. And this wine's got a little cranberry and tart cherry fruit here. Firm structure, still tightly wound, but that exotic spice and the mineral note, the wild strawberry flowers, really exotic, long finish, most excellent juice. Like I said, the wine of the night on average on the scorecards, but 5, 8, and 10 or 9 all did really well this evening. Some great juice. Thanks to our friends who hosted this on Parent Tasting. I'm your host, Andrew Lampasoni, signing off for the Wine Watch, saying remember, always drink the good stuff first.